We end season 28 with two terrifying tales. First off, we have the story of a man out on a nighttime stroll. He's done this many times before, however, this journey will have him face to face with the gory reality of life after death. And then we take a look at the story of a family that is teetering on self-destruction. Endless fights, constant turmoil. This family is tearing itself apart. But while they think this is just a simple fact of people with different personalities all trying to survive in the same house, it may actually turn out that this household is under attack by a dark paranormal force. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio.
I'm a little freaked out. Actually, I'm a lot freaked out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Gardner. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. We got a ton of stuff to cover today. First off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for one of our newest Patreon supporters, Porygon FTW. Woohoo! Yeah, yeah, he's running on in. He's a geometric shape, maybe? Sounds geometrical. Porygon FTW for the win, I'm guessing. Porygon FTW, you're going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store or anything like that, I totally understand. I really, really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Also, because it's the end of season 28, we're going to be taking a 2-week break. So I want to give quick shout-outs to two other people who've joined the Patreon fairly recently, but they're not going to get their shout-out for another 2 weeks. First off, Iris Kit. I guess we can clap for her as well. Yay, she's coming in. She's a good personal friend of mine. She hasn't got her shout-out because I don't actually know what name she wants to go by, so maybe that one, right? But she'll get a shout-out coming out. Check your Patreon email. That's a shout out. That's a message to everyone who supports on the Patreon. I send you guys emails from time to time, and that's usually where they're going. And then also, Eminent Clown recently started supporting the show. Eminent Clown will get their shout out. Let's give them a better round of applause. It was kind of a pity applause. Eminent Clown will be getting their shout out at the start of the new season as well. Also, June 13th is the 7-year anniversary of Dead Rabbit Radio. And to celebrate that, we're going to do some things, but we're going to do it next weekend. So June 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, on the YouTube channel, we will be doing a Dead Rabbit Radio live stream. And I hope to see you guys all there. These are always a lot of fun. I get to interact with you guys on a totally different level than I normally get to. That is available to everybody. And then that same night, June 21st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are going to have our Dead Rabbit Radio movie night, where we watch a collection of short horror movies. Last month's was phenomenal. We watched some really good stuff. If you want to join the Dead Rabbit Radio movie night, you do need to be a Patreon member. However, you can either be a paid member or a free member. Either one will allow you access to the Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. So we're going to have a lot of stuff going on for our 7th anniversary. June 21st, 10 a.m., YouTube channel, Dead Rabbit Radio live stream. June 21st, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Dead Rabbit Radio Movie Club. So hope to see you guys there. It'll be a lot of fun. Porygon, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the Hair Hovercraft. We're going to leave behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone climb on board as Porygon hovers us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to Denmark. We're headed all the way out to Denmark. I believe that's where this story takes place. And we're about to meet a man. No, better yet, we're about to become a man. We're all going to be the same man at once. He's like, all the voices in my head command me. We're about to become a man. Let's go ahead and call him Johnny. And this story takes place around the mid-2000s, early to mid-2000s. Johnny works for a construction company. And his job is to climb up scaffolding and fix stuff. Well, to be fair, we don't know exactly what his job was. I guess there's a lot of jobs where you use scaffolding. Window washing. That's the only one I can think of, window washing in construction. But You know what I mean? Like you're climbing up a bunch of pipes screwed together with planks of wood every so often, and you're standing on them. He's like, I don't know what my job is. What am I doing up here? The foreman's like, do something. And we're standing up there, and we're like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to clean these windows or install these windows. What am I supposed to do? Johnny, or us, it's super complicated. You're like, wait, what? What's going on here? Anyways, Johnny's working on the scaffolding one day. He enjoys his job, climbing up stuff, doing things, and then climbing down and getting a paycheck. Good job, Johnny. Good job doing whatever you were doing up there. He's all taking a nap. He makes a pillow out of sheets of glass. He's like, this is surprisingly comfortable. But one day, Johnny's up on the scaffolding, and something goes wrong. You can probably imagine out of something that's hastily created. Like, scaffolding's not a real thing, right? I mean, I know it's made of solid matter, but from what I understand, scaffolding you create. You, like, take pipes and screw them into other pipes, and you make it as tall as you want it to be. You put down some wood so you don't fall through, and then you work on stuff. But then you have to disassemble it, is what I'm saying. And then it goes back to the warehouse or wherever until the next day. They don't rebuild it each day. They're like, oh man, this construction project's going to take forever. We spend at least 3 hours a day rebuilding the scaffolding. You take it apart, and then when the next job starts, you bring the scaffolding out. Like now you're in a different part of Denmark. You're screwing all the pipes together and stuff. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's what scaffolding is. You build it. But here's the thing, whether or not you build it each day, whether or not I'm completely wrong, I think we can all agree this is a pretty dangerous place to be. Being up on scaffolding, I don't even like climbing up ladders. And those are built in a factory, and they have weight limits on them, which I exceed most of them. Whenever my boss at work is like, hey, we need you to climb up on this ladder to do something, I was like, this ladder's only for people who are 280 pounds or less. Sorry, boss. I'm like eating extra food. I'm like a boxer trying not to make weight. I was like, oh, sorry, I ate all those donuts. I'm 285 today. I can't climb up that ladder. I don't like climbing up ladders, but at least those are stress tested and they know how much weight those can hold. And you know, whatever. I have to climb up on them every once in a while. But I would never climb up scaffolding. I would never get a job where I had to climb up scaffolding on a regular basis. Obviously, if I was being pursued by zombies, I think I could go 8 feet up some scaffolding. But those things probably, I just thought of it, those things probably have weight limits as well. And it's probably a lot less than a ladder, because, you know, they're screwing them in each day. Or every job. Well, anyways, my point is that scaffolding is super dangerous. And Johnny is about to show us how dangerous it is, because one day Johnny's up on the scaffolding and he goes, whoa. He's all surfing up there. It's my lunch break, foreman. I can do whatever I want. And I want to surf. Woo! He's wiggling it. He's making it shake back and forth. Whether or not he was goofing off or not, one day Johnny falls from the scaffolding. No! Help! Help! But his pleas for help go unanswered as he plummets towards the earth and slams the back of his head on the pavement. He's laying there on the ground. And then he dies. Oh, Jason, so this is one of those cool, like, life after death stories? A vision of a future that he has to fulfill so an angel will bring him back to life? No, his brains got smashed out on the ground. Oh, so this is a story about alternate realities. You've done this before. People die and then time seems to rewind. I'll put those episodes in the show notes. They're so weird. Is this one of those? No! He fell on the ground and splattered his brains in this and every other possible reality all at the same time. Johnny does not get a second chance at life. Johnny is now a ghost. And a particularly gruesome one at that. I wanted to tell the story from his point of view. But really, the story that's reported to us was posted online. What happened was a young man was leaving his best friend's apartment one night after a night of drinking, which you have to kind of, when people have drugs or alcohol in their system and they experience something paranormal, it does make you kind of wonder what is actually going on. But anyways, this guy says, I was walking from my best friend's apartment one night after we'd spent the night drinking. And I was walking down the street. I've been down the street many times before, but one night I saw a man standing there and he looked at me and he said, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday. Like, why did you make him sound like that? That's not what I sound like. And you said I was Johnny. Oh, Jason's making fun of my voice. No, the reason why he said that was the guy who posted this online, we'll call him Jesse. This is the most complicated way to tell the story. But anyways, Jesse goes, I ran into this guy down the street. He appeared out of nowhere. Like, I was just minding my own business, walking around at night, headed home. This guy appeared out of nowhere. And he looked nice, but he looked a little slow as well. Before he even said anything, there was something kind of off about this dude. And this guy just looks at me and says, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday. And before Jesse could really say anything, it's such an odd thing to say. You're like, okay, do you need a ambulance? Like, do you need me to call 911? Also, if you fell off yesterday, might be a little late for an ambulance. Before Jesse could say anything, the man turned around and showed Jesse that he had a large gaping hole in the back of his skull. What's interesting, I mean, there's a ton of stuff interesting, but I want to stop the narrative right here. Jesse said that the man turned around and said, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday, showed me this huge gaping wound in the back of his head. The next thing Jesse says in his narrative, he goes, I never told anyone about this story. It was just too weird, too crazy. He actually thought he was losing his mind. But you notice how there's a gap in there. Not the gap in the back of Johnny's head, but a gap in the story. I read this and I thought, well, what did Jesse do? Did he just go, hey, sorry, bro. Sorry you got this giant, massive wound, but I'm headed home. Did the man vanish? Did Johnny vanish before Jesse's eyes? Did Jesse just kind of think it was weird and walked away? Did Jesse think he was losing his mind and just kind of shook his head, hoping to regain his senses as he walked back home? We don't know. He didn't actually, because there's a difference there. If Johnny vanished in a poof like a ghost, that's one way. If Jesse simply walked away from the encounter, that's a different way to end the story. I find it interesting that he doesn't say. I wonder if he doesn't even remember. But you go, it is the story of a man who's been drinking and he sees this guy with the wound in the back of the head. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe he was going crazy. Maybe it was a combination of both. I think even Jesse would have accepted that as an answer. Like he wrote, he never told anyone about this. Well, a couple of years later, he was hanging out with his best friend. Again, they'd been hanging out this whole time, obviously. Jesse never said anything about it. And his best friend, we'll call him Dylan the villain, they're sitting there hanging out, and Dylan goes, hey, dude, you want to hear something weird? I'd never really told anyone about this. I don't know, I thought I was losing my mind, but you probably won't even believe me. I was walking down the street one day, and I ran into this guy, and he just seemed to pop out of nowhere. I don't know where he came from, and he looked at me, and he said, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday. And turned around, he had a huge hole in the back of his head. So it can't be chalked up to one drunk night. It can't be chalked up to Jesse going crazy. In a way, this probably did assuage Jesse's concerns that he might be having some sort of breakdown. But it was years after the event when Dylan said that he had also encountered this phantom. And I think that's really where they both, like, once they got over the idea, like, maybe I'm not losing my mind, the only thing you could really think of is a ghost. But they had both walked these streets before. They had never seen anything. And they saw him at separate times. Even if they were both drinking each time they'd seen it. Even if they were both drunks. Even if they were both hardcore alcoholics. They're not going to hallucinate the same thing separately. On different days, different times, by themselves. They're not going to hallucinate the same thing. I tried looking around. The reason why I think the story takes place in Denmark was because Jesse, he posted this online. He posts in Denmark-related subreddits. So I thought, well, he's probably Danish. So I go, well, how many scaffolding accidents could there have been where somebody died? There's a lot. There's a lot. And even when I was trying to narrow it down to Denmark, there's a lot. It happens. A lot of times people fall off scaffolding and they just get injured. Quite a few times they die. Dangerous, dangerous work. It's interesting. This is one of those stories I really wanted to cover because it is a subset of ghosts that we really should see more of. And that is the Gory Ghost. Most ghosts don't have horrible wounds to their body. In fact, it's the contrary. Generally, when people die, their ghost appears whole. There are, and we've talked about this before on the show, so I don't want to go into length, because I know a lot of you guys do listen to every episode. I don't want to waste anyone's time. But we do have stories of people who are missing a leg, and they have a peg leg, or a wooden leg of some sort. And after they die, people say that they can still hear the wooden leg clopping around the house, like the sound that dad always made when he was walking through the house while alive continues while he's dead. The question is that the dad's ghost actually in the house? Or is that some sort of recorded memory? Is that sound simply being replayed over and over again? We don't know. We have ghosts of battlefield warriors getting their guts blown out and showing up as a blood-soaked ghost. The Headless Horseman, which everyone makes fun of me because I bring that up as a legitimate example. But there's a ton of stories of headless motorcycle riders and headless horse riders. And the idea is these are people who have lost their head in either a motorcycle accident or a horse riding accident, or both, a horse colliding with a motorcycle. We have these stories, but they're not nearly as common as you would think they would be, thankfully. Thankfully. Because it would make you wonder, well, how do you want to die if that is how you're going to spend the afterlife? This guy's obviously not having a great time walking around with a huge wound in his head. People who die slowly, their bodies will appear like they were when they were healthy and alive. Their ghosts, will appear when they're healthy and they're alive. People who die tragically, a lot of times their ghosts will also appear healthy and alive, except they're dead. You know what I mean? They won't be, if someone gets squished by a steamroller, there's no ghost sighting that's a puddle of a man reaching up out of the pavement. Doesn't exist. Although now that I think about it, it's possible that they just put some extra cement on that part. Let's cover up that phantom, that puddle human reaching out for release. We don't see it often. Gunshot victims come back as normal ghosts. The one caveat we have to that is with the Headless Horseman, when people lose their heads, sometimes we see headless ghosts or ghosts that are just the head. People who are killed via hanging, a lot of times their ghost will be seen as a hanging spirit. They're kind of stuck in that position. And you could argue that's what's going on with him. He suffered a horrible head wound. And his ghost shows up with a gory, open wound in the back of his head. But Abraham Lincoln's ghost, which is one of the most famous ghosts that's constantly being sighted at the White House. There hasn't been a sighting in a long time, but I think they just don't really talk about it. There's a ton of sightings. He's not walking around with his brains coming out. He does wear that big giant hat, but, conveniently, right? He's like, oh, look, take my hat off for the lady, and a bunch of brain matter's flying everywhere. He's like, a tip of the hat to you, too. It's like, stop it. Stop being so polite. You have that idea that this ghost is showing up with this wound. Is it because the head was damaged? That does track with the headless ghost theory. But then we have other people who have died via shooting themselves in the head with a firearm. Their ghost shows up normal. Or getting shot by someone else in the head with a firearm. Their ghost shows up normal. Fascinating. And then the other thing that I think is interesting and creepy, and we'll move on to the next story after this. This is something I bring up all the time, but it's a subject that I find super fascinating. Remember the ghost, he showed up at different times, and who knows how many other people he showed up to. Who knows how long this sighting was appearing for. For all we know, it could be happening to this day. These two guys happen to know each other. But he says, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday. But that's not true. That's not true. I mean, he did fall from scaffolding and die. But it didn't happen the day before his ghost first showed up. So he's stuck not only between life and death, but in a moment in time. He's constantly thinking it's the next day. As far as he knows, he fell off the scaffolding, smashed his head open, is still alive, right? He doesn't go, I'm dead, I'm a ghost. He says, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday. He's stuck in that moment in time. And he's able to interact with people, which is interesting as well. It's not just the recording. Because this isn't where he died. In fact, Jesse said, me and Dylan, we actually looked up if there were any... He was able to find it, right? Because they were researching it closer to the point in time, and they know the exact area. And for all I know, the guy's not really in Denmark. He might have moved to Denmark at this point, or he just really loves the Danish people. I don't know. But he said because they knew exactly where the ghosts were showing up, they knew the general location. He said, me and Dylan, actually, we did start Googling to see if we could find any proof of this accident happening. And sure enough, he goes, we did come across the account of a man who fell off of a scaffolding during construction. They were building a complex, so probably like an apartment complex or something like that. He had the specifics there. He doesn't share the links with us. Now we're, 20 years past the event. But he goes, a man did fall off the scaffolding, and he died the next day. So he didn't die instantly. He went to the hospital. It's this long process of them trying to save his life, regardless of the fact that he's probably... he might have not been slow before the accident. He might have sounded totally normal. He could have been like, I fell off the scaffolding yesterday, gentlemen. But having half of your brain matter fall out of the back of your head is going to make you sound kind of like a dummy. Or not talk at all, right? Or just be dead, have no language skills whatsoever. So, he clung to life for a day and then died. And now his ghost is stuck in that moment. I fell off the scaffolding yesterday, which is actually interesting because now that I think about it, if he died the next day in the hospital, he probably was still aware that he was alive, if that makes any sense. It's not like he was dead and not like he instantly died. We know that didn't happen. Not like he fell and hit his head and he had no idea what was going on. He might have been conscious for a portion of it. And now he's just reappearing occasionally. He doesn't show up all the time. And he says this. And for all he knows, it is the next day. For all he knows, it's fine. He's just kind of blinking in and out of reality, which to me would be the most terrifying type of ghost. Just appearing in and out of reality at random intervals. And you're stuck in one moment, but time continues to march forward. You wonder how confusing that would be. It would be confusing enough. I mean, when we see people who struggle with Alzheimer's and dementia, that's super upsetting. But now imagine that you're a ghost. Actually, now that I think I was going to say that's worse, but it's not. It's equal to, or maybe even a little better. I don't know. But even a person with Alzheimer's, I guess, like, at least they may not know what time period they're in, but they can interact with other people. They just think they're different people. They're like, Walt Disney, thank you very much. I'm so glad you bought my script. And it's really like the nurse feeding you applesauce. Yummy, yummy. Walt Disney pays you in applesauce. This is a sweeter deal than I thought. So for my next movie, you know what I mean? Like there would be at least some interaction on some level, but not with a ghost. He's just kind of stuck there. I wonder if he's still showing up. Again, if it's so irregular and so weird and gory, it'd be interesting. And I really wish, we would know the locations of these stories, but that's just kind of where we're at. I wonder if he's still popping up every now and then. Porygon FTW, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world famous Carpenter Copter. We're leaving behind Denmark. We're waving goodbye to Johnny. He's waving back. He's waving back and nodding, and Brain is shooting out of the back of his head. We're like, Johnny, no. Don't nod so much. He's all rocking out. Listening to some Megadeth. We're leaving behind Denmark. Why don't you fly us all the way out to a house in the suburbs? We're in this house in the suburbs. We're about to meet a young woman. We don't have her real name. We're going to call her Samantha. Samantha goes, back when I was a kid, and a little kid, right? She's talking 4 or 5 years old. She began having these terrifying dreams. But it was more than just a standard nightmare. She goes, it was a reoccurring nightmare, which is always kind of the creepiest thing. She goes, I'd have this dream where I was being pursued by demons. Sometimes these dreams would feature Cerberus, the 3-headed dog from Greek mythology. That'd be kind of cool. But it wasn't cool for 4-year-old Samantha. She thought it was absolutely terrifying. She goes, I can look back and I remember having those dreams. But as I got older, they stopped being she still had the dreams, but she goes, it wasn't just that I was having these nightmares. I started to realize as I was getting older that I was starting to feel very uneasy in my house. I actually felt that there was something wrong going on there. And there was, because her family members would always be fighting with each other. She was kind of vague about it, but she said, listen, there were a lot of fights, and she had a, quote, very rough, unquote, upbringing. But that wasn't the reason why Samantha felt uneasy. She probably actually felt uneasy as a child, like a little girl as well, but as she's getting older, she starts to realize, like, wait a second. No, there's something else. There's another presence. She doesn't even use that word, but she just felt uneasy being home. And then on top of that, the family constantly fighting with each other, and on top of that, her parents possibly being very strict, if not physically abusive. It was a very religious household, and they went to church regularly. But no one in the family went to church as much as her brother, who we will call Miles. He actually really, really loved going to church. He went to it more than anyone else in the family, and he had declared that he wanted to be a minister when he grew up. Samantha goes, the religious thing's one thing, but my mom also, she began to talk about hearing voices in the house late at night. And to protect us from this presence that she believed was in the house, she began burning sage and trying to ward off any sort of evil entities that may try to enter or are already there, to get them out of the house. Something's off in the house. The whole family realizes this. The whole family, they're fighting to such a degree that they know something's wrong. They know something's wrong. They don't know how to fix it. Well, Samantha is talking about this one day to her friend, who we will call June. At this point, Samantha's in high school, so, they've been dealing with this for years. She's talking to her friend June, and June goes, Samantha, I never really wanted to say this, but I don't feel comfortable in your house either. Yeah, your family's constantly arguing with each other, but it's something else. Samantha's like, I know! It's something beyond just the tension of never knowing what's going to start an argument. June says, well, Samantha, I think my mom might need to swing by your house one of these days. Because June's mother, who we'll call Rebecca, June's mother says that she can communicate with spirits. She's a medium. And she does offer to help. When she hears about all this stuff, she goes, I'd love to come over to your house and see if I can figure out what's going on there. No child should be in a home where there's this much fighting, and there probably is something spiritual, especially since June is sensing it as well, so I'd love to come over. Samantha hesitantly says yes, because she's honestly afraid of what Rebecca will find. Because what do you think? Jason, is it a witch? Is it a witch? You've been constantly talking about it. You used the word witch in the title of the episode. Is she going to find a witch? Well, a witch, yes, but so much more. So much more. June's mother, Rebecca, and Samantha arrange a date, and on this particular day, the trio come over to the house, and Samantha gives them the tour. When Rebecca walks into the house, they're kind of giving her the tour, right? They're showing her where everything's at. They get to the basement door, and she just stops, turns to Samantha and says, "Don't ever go down there." Walks away. Samantha's like, What's down there? What's down there? Is it a witch? They continue the tour. They get to Samantha's bedroom. Rebecca walks right up to Samantha's closet, opens the door, looks inside, and says, "Very nice." And then shuts the door and walks out of the bedroom. Very brisk tour, right? It's very, I like this. I like the pace. Keep it up. Rebecca then walks into Miles' bedroom, turns around, leaves his bedroom, and then walks out of the house and does not return. June and Samantha are looking. They're like, well, maybe we shouldn't be hanging out in this room either. Yeah, let's leave. Let's go find out what was up with your mom. When Rebecca walked into Miles' bedroom, what she saw was 3 spirits. She saw a soldier, she saw a little boy, and she saw an old witch. And they were all on his bed. I don't know if they were sitting down or standing up. That would be way creepier, right? The 3 ghosts standing on your bed. Like, why is that creepy? You're like afraid because they got dirty feet? No, imagine if you walked into your bedroom and there was a burglar sitting on your bed. You'd be afraid, right? But now imagine you walk into the bedroom and he's standing on your bed. Jason, that's not, I mean, I guess it's slightly scarier. Maybe like 1 or 2% scarier. I think that's way scarier. That old rhyme, 20 monkeys jumping in your bed. I'm like, Mom, please stop counting down. And only 18 monkeys jumping on the bed. I'm like, the madness. Who wrote this? H.P. Lovecraft? It's creepy. It's super creepy. People standing on your bed. I don't know why. That visual is spookier. Because people don't stand on beds unless they're monkeys and their brains get patched open at the ending of each verse of that song. And there should be no more monkeys jumping on the bed. Standing on the bed. Or sitting, we don't know. She just said there were 3 ghosts on the bed. A soldier, a little boy, and an old witch. Now, the old witch stood out because even though Rebecca only got a glance at her, it was emanating nothing but pure hatred. She said the witch had white hair and white eyes and hated the family. Hated them more than anything. And she told June and Samantha, this is the problem. She is doing whatever she can to destroy your family. She hates you guys that much, she's trying to tear you to pieces. And not only that, not only is she trying to destroy the family, she's using the family members as instruments of their own destruction. She's making them fight amongst each other. Really trying to destroy this home. Samantha is hearing that. She goes, yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? There has to be an outside threat as to why we're acting like this. But what did you see in my closet? You came in and you said, very nice. And Rebecca goes, well, I opened the closet door and I saw a woman in there. I don't know who she is directly related to you, but she is a member of your family. She could be an ancestor. I don't know. But she's there and she's protecting you, Samantha. She's protecting you. She's in your closet because she loves you so much and she is trying to keep you as much as she can away from all this turmoil. She loves you and she's watching over you. And as Rebecca began to describe what the woman in the closet looked like, Samantha goes, oh my God, I know who you're talking about. That's not some long dead ancestor. That's my aunt. My aunt died when I was 5 years old. Which is interesting because that's when the nightmare started. And I wonder if that is some sort of interplay between this good spirit and this bad spirit. I mean, again, it wasn't... It's interesting because the nightmares were horrible and they were reoccurring, but maybe that was... I don't know. That's just a theory I had. Maybe the aunt protecting her. I don't know. Maybe the witch was going after her even more in her sleep because the aunt was doing more spiritual shenanigans to protect her while she was awake. I don't know. That was just a theory I had when I was... It definitely... The aunt died around... Well, actually, now that I think about it, the aunt died around the time the dream started, so maybe while the aunt was alive, she was able to do more to protect Samantha. But once she died, the darkness came for her. Well, anyways, later on... Not too long after this, but not exactly that same day, Samantha and June are talking to Miles, and they're like, hey, dude, yeah, can we talk to you? But not in your bedroom. Can we go out to this gazebo on a bright, sunny day? They go, hey, Miles, we think you should know that June's mom came through. She's a medium. She can see spirits and talk to spirits, and she did a little tour of the house. And Miles goes, oh, what did she say about the basement? And Samantha goes, hey, she just said, don't ever go down there. Miles is like, yeah, it makes sense. That place is creepy. But she says something more important. Miles, we went to your room, and she said that she saw 3 spirits on your bed. He's all sweating. He's all, were they standing or sitting? He's all so scared. She saw a little boy, a soldier, and a witch. She saw this witch sitting there, and she was emanating hatred. And Miles goes, and she had white hair and white eyes. Samantha and June go, yeah, that's what her mom said. Miles goes, yeah, I've seen her. I've seen her too. Miles said, that's the reason why I want to become a minister. She would come to me. She would torment me personally. This wicked, evil witch would tell me that she was going to kill all of you guys. That she was going to murder you guys and there was nothing I could do to stop it. She was psychologically torturing me and making me feel like at any day, at any moment, she could just kill everybody. And she would take away my family. And what I would do, obviously, is like I would pray. And she would say, there's no point in that. There's no point in that, Miles, because I'm stronger than God. God cannot stop me. If I want your family dead, they're dead. So don't waste your time praying. Just know, nothing is more powerful than I am. He realized that there was... Well, first off, he doesn't believe her, right? I mean, he probably did scare him because he is younger. That would scare anyone. That would scare an adult as well. Imagine a witch showing up in the middle of the night and saying, I'm going to murder your whole family, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. We covered a story like that just earlier this season, where the people were talking from the ceiling, telling the guy they're going to murder his family. Like psychological torture. At any moment, you could wake up and your entire house is a bloodbath. You're the only person left. He goes, so that's why I'm studying to be a minister. I didn't tell any of you guys that. Yeah, I figured none of you would believe me. You probably have me institutionalized. Even though we're religious and even though Mom was burning that sage and stuff like that, I figured I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And I'm going to learn how to serve God. I'm going to become a messenger for him. I'm going to get that power so I can stop her. And maybe even help other people as a man of the cloth. Samantha also does say, in regards to the basement, she goes, she never would tell us what... She didn't open the basement door. She didn't go in there. She just said, don't go into the basement. She goes, I don't know what was in the basement. She goes, all I do know is that my dad one day was down there, and I've never seen him as scared as he was when he came out of the basement. He goes, he never talked about it, but he saw something down there. So even before Rebecca said, don't go in the basement, none of us wanted to. Something was down there. Something bad. Samantha says shortly after this, we ended up moving out. And not necessarily because of these findings, but it also probably didn't help. At this point, everyone in the family had some horrific vision of a nightmarish reality. She goes, we packed up, we moved. And I'll tell you this, I will never go back to that house. Ever go back to that house. And it's funny because we cover stories on here pretty regularly where the story ends with the person going, I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back and see what's going on in that house, or knock on the door and see if the new owners have experienced anything. Didn't recently, we had a guy who was visited by a giant bug in a Hilton hotel, a giant mantis messenger of the ancient gods. And he's like, I want to bring those mantis people back and say thanks. We get those stories pretty regularly. She's like, I'll never go back. There's nothing good there. Nothing. Well, my aunt. I left my aunt in the closet. Hopefully she found her way out. I should have left the door open when we moved out. It's interesting because I'm curious. The person who posted this ended up deleting or ended up getting banned. You know, it could be either way. But her profile, we can't ask her any questions. I'm curious as to whether or not the family stopped fighting. Because that would be a big point of the story, right? Did this stop? Did the chaos stop? It's interesting because she doesn't say either way. She doesn't say either way. I think if it completely stopped, it would be notable. If it didn't stop, that would be notable as well. Most likely, and this is why the witch's plan was so sinister, you could move and get away from the power of the witch. But a fight that started when you were 8 and your brother was 12, you guys could still bring up when he's 24 and you're 20. I mean, Jason, you really can't be that bad at math. You can't be that bad. You know what I mean? Like, you can get in a fight and it just echo. And it's the dumbest fights that last the longest. Now, imagine if that was happening every day at home. Like, it would be really hard for me to continue to have relationships with my family the way that I do if when I go to talk to one of my brothers, right when I go to pick up the phone, I go, oh, man, I remember that time when we got in that big fight about the witch. I was like, there's no witch in your room, bro. There's no witch in your room. He's like, look, she's standing on the bed right now. I was like, there's nothing on your bed. But that is spooky. However, I don't believe you. Why would you believe me about the witch? He's all getting sucked into a portal. He's being replaced with a much calmer doppelganger. I was like, hey, buddy, what's up? He's like, we are best friends. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's go stand on your bed. Jump around. Constant fights can tear a family apart, is what I'm saying, and make it hard to reconcile anything. You could get in a ton of fights that are caused by an evil witch, and then you leave, and you're simply in slightly less fights. Like the hatred-fueled rage that is burning in these family members for each other. The supernatural element's gone, but they still got a lot of bad blood from all those fights they were in for at least 10 years. If this story started, like she said, 4 to 5 years old, and she's in high school when it ends, if she's a freshman, that's 10 years easy. If she's a senior, it's 14 years that this was going on. So even if you left the supernatural element, imagine all of the memories you have of those fights. It'd be really hard to, even after that's gone, to just hug it out and get over it. Because there's probably a lot of really, really mean things said and done to each other for it to just all be copacetic. But, you know, again, let's wrap the story up like this, because like I said, what would it take for a witch to hate this family this much? Was she just a time bomb? This witch, did she come with the house? And any family that moved in was going to be completely devastated by her? Who was the soldier and the little boy? You almost wonder if they were previous victims of her and their souls were trapped in the house. I mean, you know, you could have fights really get out of control and people end up getting killed. Possibly. Was the witch only targeting them? Possibly. But Samantha doesn't mention that this activity, we don't know if the fight stopped, but definitely the activity did. So that's an interesting question. Yeah, it's good to get out of there, but if the witch is still in there, and the basement is so bad, nobody wants to go down there, letting someone else move in seems cruel. But what are you going to do? You got to sell the house. Or if you're just renting it, then you don't have any say in it whatsoever. Are you going to burn it down if it's truly that evil? That might be the moral thing to do. You know, I think it's illegal. I think it's illegal on several different categories. But if you own a house, can you just torch it? Yeah, I guess you'd probably have to have it completely paid off. But again, I think it's against the law to set a house on fire, even if you own it. What I think's funny and what I think is a cool way to end season 28 is that in the end, this witch's plan spectacularly backfired. Because while trying to destroy this home, she took a young boy and turned him into a servant of God. Turned him into a messenger of peace and salvation. Turned him into someone who was going to spend his life helping other people. She may have wanted to destroy a family, but she ended up giving the forces of good another soldier. Someone who, when threatened with diabolical paranormal forces, he says, I'm going to learn how to defeat you. I'm not only going to figure out a way for you to stop tormenting my family, I'm going to try to figure out a way so no other family ever has to go through this again. I'm going to study the word of God and use it to defeat the devil. What a way to end season 28. I will be back in 2 weeks. I really hope I see you guys for the 7th anniversary live stream special on June 21st, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then the movie night, June 21st, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I really hope to see you there. You guys have a great break. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Really, really appreciate it. Dead Rabbit Radio, it's for 7 years this has been going on. Fantastic stuff. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is at Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal conspiracy and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. See you guys in 2 weeks. Well, actually, no, I'll see you guys in a week for the live stream, but then the podcast 2 weeks from now.